When most people imagine surviving a freezing night outdoors, they picture a high-end down sleeping bag. You know, the kind that costs hundreds of dollars and boasts a comfort rating of -20 degrees Fahrenheit. But during World War II, thousands of soldiers and resistance fighters didn't have access to luxury sleeping gear. They were sleeping in bombed-out ruins, snowed in forests or damp foxholes. Yet, remarkably, some of them managed to stay warmer than expected. Not with goose down, but with a field hack that's still shockingly effective today. This forgotten insulation trick works so well that it's now being rediscovered by bushcrafters, ultralight backpackers and survivalists looking for a low-cost, field-ready way to stay warm. And the best part? You can replicate it today for under $10. Let's rewind to the battlefield to see how this clever sleeping bag substitute came to be. By late 1942, soldiers on both the eastern and western fronts were fighting brutal winter conditions. The official issue sleeping gear, usually wool blankets or heavy canvas bags, quickly soaked through, froze solid, and lost most of their insulating ability. In temperatures dipping to -30 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermia wasn't a distant threat. It was a nightly companion. Resourceful troops had to improvise. They scavenged hay, straw, rags, and even newspapers to line their bedrolls. But one simple discovery stood out. It was lightweight, water-resistant, and incredibly insulating. The trick? Dry grass or straw stuffed between two layers of fabric, forming a kind of field mattress or makeshift sleeping bag. At first glance, dry grass doesn't sound like much of an insulator, but you know the secret actually lies in the air it traps. Air is a poor conductor of heat, and the tiny pockets between the stiff blades of grass or straw act exactly like the loft in a modern down sleeping bag. Down feathers insulate by trapping air within thousands of tiny filaments. Straw and dried grass do the same, though on a cruder scale. When arranged loosely, not tightly packed, they create a springy, breathable layer that traps warmth and blocks conductive heat loss to the frozen ground. In modern terms, this hack essentially creates a field-expedient air mattress with built-in insulation. It separates your body from the ground's cold surface while preventing body heat from radiating away. Troops would often sleep directly on this layer or wrap themselves in canvas or a poncho with grass stuffed inside. Soldiers of the Finnish army, for example, became famous for their ability to stay warm in Arctic conditions, using nothing more than birch bark and dry grass insulation inside their coats and under their sleeping positions. German troops on the Eastern Front took note, replicating similar setups when supplies ran low. Survival accounts from World War II and later conflicts describe the effectiveness of this trick vividly. Soldiers reported being, surprisingly warm, sleeping on snow-covered ground when they used even a few inches of straw or grass beneath them. One soldier from the 1944 Battle of the Bulge wrote in a letter home that a mattress of straw is worth more than a goose-down bag if you can keep it dry. The advantage wasn't magic, it was physics and moisture control. While down and wool lose much of their insulation value when wet straw and dry grass retain a surprising amount of loft, even when damp. And because they dry quickly in the open air, troops could, refresh their insulation daily if needed. This low-tech solution was so effective that post-war NATO survival manuals even referenced it. The 1950s British Army Field Guide, Survival in Cold Weather Areas, recommended grass, dry leaves or moss as an efficient substitute for sleeping gear when combined with waterproof sheeting. Fast forward to the 21st century. Modern materials, synthetics, foams, and ultrafine down have revolutionized outdoor gear. But, the basic principles of insulation haven't changed: trap air, stay dry, block wind, and separate from the cold ground. Here's how you can replicate the World War II sleeping bag substitute today for less than $10. So, you'll need 2 plastic trash bags, preferably contractor grade or heavy duty. Also, grab a few armfuls of dry grass, straw, pine needles or leaves. If you have it, a lightweight tarp or emergency blanket can be really helpful. And don't forget some paracord or tape. You'll need 2 plastic trash bags, preferably contractor grade or heavy duty, a few armfuls of dry grass, straw, pine needles or leaves, a lightweight tarp or emergency blanket if available, and some paracord or tape. First, find dry insulation material. Look for tall grass, straw or dry pine needles, but make sure to avoid anything damp, mouldy or full of insects. The key here is dryness and volume. You'll need enough to create a layer about 2 to 4 inches thick under your body. Next, create a shell. Lay 1 trash bag flat and cut it open along one edge to form a large sheet. Place it on the ground as your bottom barrier. This keeps moisture from seeping in. Spread your dried material evenly across the plastic layer. The more loft, the better. Don't crush it down. You want it fluffy and full of air pockets. After that, seal it in. Place the second trash bag, also cut open, on top of the first, sandwiching the insulation inside. Tape or tie the edges together to keep the material in place. Finally, just wrap yourself in it if needed. For extreme cold, you can, actually fashion this into a cocoon by taping one end and slipping inside. If you have a tarp or poncho, just wrap it over the entire thing for wind and water protection. You've just built a World War II-style field mattress that can rival a commercial sleeping pad, and honestly, in many conditions, even outperform a wet-down bag. Bushcraft tests and modern experiments consistently show that this do-it-yourself grass mattress can make a 20 to 30 degree Fahrenheit difference in comfort temperature compared to sleeping directly on the ground. Combined with a wool blanket or bivy sack, it can push survivable conditions below freezing. Bushcraft tests and modern experiments consistently show that this do-it-yourself grass mattress can make a 20 to 30 degree Fahrenheit difference in comfort temperature compared to sleeping directly on the ground. Combined with a wool blanket or bivy sack, it can push survivable conditions below freezing. In a 2021 cold weather survival experiment, outdoor instructor Paul Kirtley showed that just 4 inches of dry grass insulation placed under a tarp could keep the ground temperature beneath the sleeper's body over 25 degrees Fahrenheit, warmer than the surrounding air. That's honestly about the same insulating effect you'd get from a $150 foam and down combo setup. The key takeaway here is pretty straightforward. You lose most of your body heat to the ground, not the air above you. Figuring out how to solve that problem cheaply is, well, really the true secret to staying warm. This World War II hack isn't just some historical curiosity. It's actually a practical tool for anyone who heads outdoors. It works as an emergency winter shelter technique for lost hikers or stranded motorists who need quick insulation using natural materials and a plastic tarp. Plus, it's a great budget camping trick, letting you swap out pricey sleeping pads for local vegetation in an ultralight setup. Bushcraft instructors often teach this method for primitive living and survival training. And, in disaster preparedness circles, heavy-duty trash bags are a staple because they can quickly become insulation, shelter, or waterproof barriers in just a few minutes. And yes, it still costs under $10. It's easy to think that modern gear has outclassed every old trick. But World War II field improvisations remind us that warmth isn't always about money or brand names. It's about understanding how insulation works and using what's around you intelligently. It's easy to think that modern gear has outclassed every old trick. But World War II field improvisations remind us that warmth isn't always about money or brand names. It's about understanding how insulation works and using what's around you intelligently. Those soldiers facing freezing nights with nothing but scavenged materials proved that a good idea, not expensive gear, can mean the difference between life and death. And their discovery still holds true today. When you trap enough air and stay dry, even grass can outperform goose down.